Greetings, fellow Terrans. Professor McKee here with a tutorial for Terra Invicta. We finance professors have hobbies, and one of mine is playing Terra Invicta. I'm creating a collection of tips I've learned while playing this game in case you want to have a study break. Today's guide is about drives, and I'm going to focus only on early drives because it is a huge topic, and these are the drives you'll need to get your initial spaceships built. This is a great game, but the tech tree, as you can see, is large. It's hard to know what drives to get, and there's nearly 100 drives that we can research. So I'm going to walk through some of the key early drives that will serve the normal purposes of an early game ship, and that will reliably work. So early game, there's two types of ships you're going to want. Or more accurately, be able to build with our low tech. The first will be a defense ship, which will have low KPS and semi-decent acceleration. It will never travel interplanetary. So you'll build defense ships to protect Earth, you'll build them to protect Mars. If you have other sites of concentrated industry like Ceres or Mercury or Venus, you might build some ships in local shipyards on that planetary body, and it stays in that planetary body and never leaves. And that means you don't need much delta V. So you can protect this single planetary system. You need some decent cruise acceleration, combat acceleration, thrust, but your delta V can be quite low because you're just going to go out, attack an alien ship, come back to your dock, and resupply. The other potential ship you might want to build are non-combat ships. They'll have some sort of useful utility module like Marines, outpost kits, where's the other one? There you go. Mobile space science labs. And you're not going to be in combat. You don't need to do any intercepts. So you don't need very much acceleration, but you do need lots of delta V because you're probably, for many of these, going to go on an interplanetary trip. Like I say, a colony ship with one of the platform kits, or with the space science labs, you're going to go to a different body, prospect it, build a space station or a mine on that place, and then come back. So you need to be able to go there and back again. An analogy that I think can help is that we want one drive that is like a muscle car engine. It's got lots of power, but it doesn't need to have good fuel efficiency. And the other drive we want to have like an economy car's engine. It still can make the car go, but it's not nearly as powerful, but it has much better fuel efficiency. And I do mean one. You want one each. A very common trap we can fall into is you say, oh, there's this drive, and there's that drive, and there's the Pegasus drive, and all these other drives, and you research 5 drives when you only needed to research 1. Well, you just wasted a bunch of research points. That's not ideal. The best approach is to pick a couple drives you are targeting. In this game, I'm targeting the Pegasus drive, and I got lucky. It doesn't always unlock, but this is a potential early game drive I will talk about in just a few minutes. And ignore all the other drives. In this game, I have a whole bunch of drives I could research, and I'm not going to bother with them. So I have Vasimer, Colloid, Nervi, Mass Driver, Plasma Wave Drive. There's probably a couple others that will unlock soon, and I'm not going to ignore almost all of these because they're not going to help me. Well, and this is from my Academy Let's Play, where I have a house rule where I have to research everything, so I eventually will research them, but if you're playing a real normal sort of game, you wouldn't do this research. Now, let me go through and kind of explain what sort of stats you would care about for our drives. And I need the mic. I need to show the obsolete drives. So you have some initial drives. These are solid rockets, liquid rockets. Well, these are all liquid rockets except for this one and that one. These drives, in theory, could work. So let me demonstrate. So this is the solid rocket. This is the very worst drive in the game, probably. And I'm going to build a ship with it. Use a fuel cell, use a basic battery, basic radiators, 2 magazines because I'm going to do missiles, some basic missiles. No armor, because I can't afford to have armor on this thing. Now, I would like to have probably 5 or 6 KPS just to do intra-planetary transfers. So how many tanks do I need? Well, 50's not enough. I need 70 something. Sure, let's go 70. That cost me 700 volatiles. This will break the bank. In theory, this ship could work. It has semi-decent acceleration. It has enough delta V to be a planetary defense ship. It can deliver missiles and blow up a single alien ship, especially if you bring a couple of them and make sure you saturate their point defense. But you can't afford to use it. You don't have enough volatiles. Like you're not going to be mining enough volatiles for it to work. Now you can go in and pick a different drive. Say, oh well, meteor liquid. This uses water and volatiles. It also has better KPS, not a lot better. 2.6 versus 2.98. So if I'm willing to go down to 5, I could go down to say 40 tanks. So now I'm paying 240 water and 160 volatiles. This is much better. It still is very expensive. It's really expensive. You don't want to have to pay this much in water and volatiles. You're paying all of your monthly expenses for a single sortie. And the aliens, I can assure you, will not be sending one ship per month. They might be sending one ship per month, but you're going to have no resources. You're just going to be constantly picking fights with them. And the same is true for all of these. Now, I think probably the best one, if you absolutely had to do it, is the Nova rocket, which is one you actually research, but you will research it as part of your space to help you get into space. So you can get down to 13 and still have 5 KPS. It would cost 130 water, which it's expensive. If you have a bunch of these, you're going to be paying a lot of water, but it's not literally impossible to afford. Okay, so now that I have explained why these basic engines are terrible, they cost too much, let's talk about some of the basic engines or drives and engines that will actually work. So in order to use the better drives, like for instance a teardrop drive, we need power plants. For our first ship, you will probably either get a molten core fission reactor or a solid core fission reactor. Molten cores have solid core reactors as a prerequisite, so you'll get solid cores first, and then if you have time and enough research before you need to get your ship out, then you can go molten core, or you just go with solid core, and while you're working towards molten core and the later techs. So let's assume that because you're new to the game and you only have enough research and time to do a solid core engine. So you have a solid core reactor, you put that in. You put in the other things, we need a drive. Now, I didn't actually research a solid core drive here because I went straight to molten core in this game. But if you are going for a solid core drive, the safest choice is the pebble drive. Let me show you in the tech tree. So, pebble drive, it has pretty good thrust, 172,000 newtons. It has 9.8 KPS, which is way better than those liquid rockets. And it only uses water. So if you were using this, you'd pay a lot less in water. It's going to have way better combat thrust for the same amount of water that you would use for, say, the liquid rocket. And the nice thing about it is it has a 100% chance to unlock. So it is you're guaranteed to get it if you go down the projects to get to compact solid core fission reactor 4, which requires, well, compact fission reactor 3, 2, 1, as well as solid core fission reactor 2, which of course requires solid reactor 1, which requires the global tech of solid core fission systems. But of course you're already getting solid core because you want to get nuclear freighters. And if you go down that path, through all those projects, you will get to the Pebble drive. Now, if you want a better solid core drive, there are a couple options. There's the particle drive. As you can see, there's not a guaranteed chance we will get this. If we research Pebble drive, and we also research compact solid reactor 5, we have it's actually a 65% base chance. This is higher because I have someone with a trait that gives you extra bonuses to it. But there's a better than even chance you'll get it, but it's not guaranteed. This drive has roughly double the thrust, so it's got even more power. It has 9.5 kps versus 9.8, so its delta V is still fine. It also uses hydrogen and uses water. It's open cooling. Yeah, they're both open cooling, so there's no real difference there. So it has better thrust, and the power requirements are a little bit less than double, right around double. So this drive will work great too, but you might not get it. So that's why people would often recommend Pebble, because this is a guarantee. Next options, if you're not going to go for Pebble, Nerva. So the advantage of Nerva itself is kind of not great. You can see the thrust here is 49,000, it's a lot lower. KPS is a little bit lower too. The nice thing about Nerva is all you need is solid core 1, and then you can immediately research Nerva. And Nerva has a bunch of following techs that are better. So some good options down the Nerva line, the Kermit Nerva drive. Also the advanced Nerva drive, or Kermit drive. This one requires you research Dumbo drive. I wouldn't use Dumbo. Although you could probably make this one work too. But advanced Kermit, however we pronounce it, has better thrust and better KPS than Dumbo, and as well as, of course, its Kermit of only 134,000. Now, to be clear, this has a non-guaranteed chance to unlock. Kermit has a non-guaranteed chance to unlock. Dumbo will always unlock, but you're not guaranteed to get the better Nerva drives. You'll probably be able to get them more often than not, but it's not guaranteed. Really, if you want a solid core drive, Pebble is the safest bet. Okay, so that is solid core. Pebble is probably the best one to go for, but also you can try to get particle if you go for Pebble, or you go down the Nerva tree and get Kermit or advanced Kermit, or just Nerva. You can make a lot of these work, it's going to be more expensive and difficult. Now, if you're able to reach molten core before you have to build your SPIT, which means you're just doing better in terms of research, then you can get a drive, an engine that's better. So my recommendation, and unfortunately there's not a guaranteed pick here, is Teardrop, which I'm using currently in this game. So Teardrop has better thrust, 300,000 instead of like the 200,000. It has 19 kps, so its delta V is a lot better. It uses mostly water. It has a tiny bit of fissiles, the nuclear radioactive stuff. And this one will work well. It's not a guaranteed chance to success, but it's very high. It's an 80% base chance, so if you have some bonuses that increase it up to 100%, which wouldn't be that hard to do, you're safe. Pegasus, which I'm currently researching for this game, is a big improvement on Teardrop. KPS is 16 versus 19, so it's a little bit less delta V, but its thrust is amazing. 7 million. And it still uses water. It's open cycle cooling, which will reduce weight because you don't need as large a radiator. So if you can get Pegasus, it's a great drive to pick up. Otherwise, Teardrop is pretty safe, pretty likely to get. And then the other good option is Fission Spinner. As you can see, I researched Lars drive here. I don't seem to have unlocked Fission Spinner. It's possible it will never unlock. But either Teardrop or Spinner, if you unlock one of the two, it gives you a chance for the Pegasus. And Fission Spinner has excellent thrust, has excellent exhaust velocity for the Delta V. Okay, so those would be the options for a early game short-term drive, a short distance drive, one that you use just to defend your space stations around Earth or Mars, etc. Now, what about longer range drive? All of these drives, even this one, their KPS is 17. You're not going to do an interplanetary transfer with 17 KPS. It's just not enough. You need like 50, and preferably more than that, like hundreds. I mean, the aliens have like 800. You're not going to get there until the end of the game, but you know, if you get up to 100, you're doing pretty good for doing interplanetary travel. Since these drives are going to require a ton of Delta V, which means a ton of propellant, you also want them to be very efficient. And you can afford to be super efficient because you don't need to fight in combat. You don't need tons of acceleration. You can go very slowly with very small thrust because ideally no one's going to attack you. If an alien ship was to engage in combat, you're going to lose and that ship will be destroyed because it's not going to have any weapons. Alright, so my suggestions for our long-range ones is either electrostatic or electromagnetic. Keep in mind you want to pick one. So electrostatic, let me pull that up. Propulsion. Yeah, so electrostatic propulsion, that's the global tech that unlocks them. It is very early. It's just 3,000 energy science, and you just need deep space propulsion and vacuum electrostatic principles, which is really cheap, 1,000. And this one will immediately unlock, and you're I believe guaranteed to get Ion. And this is one of the ones you might want to use. It has 3,000 newtons, so its thrust is tiny, but it has 78 kps. So it won't go fast, but it will go a long distance. And later on, once you research things like carbon nanotubes and solid core fission reactors, and I guess also fuel cell 3, you can get grid drives, which has a little bit better thrust, and it has 200 kps. So yeah, even more than double, more than double your Delta V. So these guys cannot push heavy ships because their thrust is so small. But these ships will not have armor. They will not have weapons. They will be lighter because of that. Now, if you're not going to go for electrostatic, instead you could do electromagnetic propulsion. This is an even earlier game, Global Tech, and it unlocks Vasimer. Now, Vasimer has even weaker thrust than Ion and Grid, 1,000, but it also has great KPS. Its Delta V is 147. And you can upgrade it, so if you get lucky, the advanced Vasimer drive can unlock. That's an option. There's also, let me go back to extend here. Helicon drive. This is through here. You need a high energy electromagnetic propulsion. That's a little bit later in Global Tech, but that's not too bad. You need magnets and electromagnetic, as well as molten cores. Not guaranteed to unlock, but this is 20,000 in thrust, 300 Delta V. This is the best one of the electromagnetics. And Lorentz. This also requires the high energy electromagnetic, not guaranteed to drop. than fuel cell apparently. But this one has 100 kps, 20,000 newtons. So Helicon is the best. Then you have Lawrence. Then you have advanced Vasimir. You always will have Vasimir. And Vasimir can work. It's also very cheap to get. The better ones are a little bit more expensive. So that would be my suggestion for a long-range ship. Either go for the ion and grid line, or go for the electromagnetic for Vasimir, Helicon, Lawrence, or advanced Vasimir. Get Vasimir, and then see if Helicon unlocks, or Lawrence unlocks, or advanced Vasimir unlocks. Unless you get really unlucky, you'll get one of the three. And at worst case scenario, you still have Vasimir, which will work. It's worse, but it's not like unusable. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate how to actually build these ships using some of these drives. So I'm going to go in Ship Designer. Why is this? Okay, there we go. Okay, so I have a missile ship. This is my defense ship. And I'm going to use Teardrop, Molten Core, Teardrop Dive. I'll have all 6. And I have 16 kps. That is way too much. I don't need this much. I need like 5 or 7 to get to intraplanetary transfer. So I'll just tick it down to 4. So I have 7.1 kps. I have 2g of acceleration in combat, which is, I mean, the aliens have 4, but like 2 is respectable. It's only going to cost me 40 water to do a full sortie with this ship, instead of 140 with the best of these Nova liquid rocket ones. And I can improve things a little bit, so if I get Molten Reactor 3, I get a little bit better acceleration because my weight goes down from 1324 tons to 1311 tons. This upgraded reactor is a little bit more efficient. It's not as heavy. It produces more power for the same weight, so you can reduce your weight. There's Molten Reactor 4 and 5 too, which would get you a little bit better improvement as well. So this ship, it will work just as well in terms of delivering missiles, but it's way cheaper to operate. And being cheaper is good in this case. It's good enough. Okay, so then I'm going to also demonstrate. Okay, I want gunship, I think. Yeah, I want gunship. A potential colony ship. So this is going to be, let's just say it's a survey ship. So we have a mobile science lab to survey stuff. We have no armor. We have our basic radiators. That titanium is lighter, 400 tons versus 180. Basic battery. I'm going to give myself the best possible reactor, and I'll pick out an ion drive. And I want a lot of KPS, maybe 100. So it'll be a decent amount of water and metals, but we're not going to operate this as rapidly as a combat ship, because this is going to take I can do an example transfer. So I'm going from, let's say, my dockyards, and I'm going to go to where is Ceres? Here we go. So I can do it in 29 weeks. This is way faster than if I send a probe. This is why you would do it. And if I'm willing to spend less DPS, or delta V to be safe, and it'd be 34 weeks. And basically this guy has a tiny little thrust, but it's going to be pushing the ship the entire trip, both forward, and then it'll flip and do a reverse burn. And then it'll come back again, but it's going to take a year to run this thing. So I can afford 140 water and 20 metals a year. Like that is income I can easily sustain. If I was doing it once a week, that'd be a much bigger problem. So this ship would work to do prospecting. I can even go to an escort, and I have both a mobile lab, and I will also have a solar platform kit, so I can build a space station above orbit and then use that to build the thing. And like, this is heavy. These are both 200 tons. Of course, their weapons are pretty heavy too. And we don't have to worry about armor and all that. So this is the two kinds of ships you might be building early on. And it'll be a little bit heavier, so it's going to be harder to get enough KPS. I can get up to about 100 and still have useful acceleration, although it's very slow. And it'll take 33 weeks. We can upgrade the battery, the radiators, to reduce weight and make these ships work better. I will say just eventually you will be able to research lower weight batteries or radiators. Also lower weight armor, but that's something you should wait until later in the game. Early game, you don't really need more than the basic stuff to run combat ships, and you definitely don't need like armor for your colony ship. So, next time you're starting out in Terra Invicta, you now know what early drives that are best to target, and which engines, reactors, to pursue first. If you found this video helpful for your study break, please comment, like, and/or subscribe so that others can find this video too. Happy not studying or fending off an alien invasion.